After Japanese and Hong Kong animation development timeline, I'm going to compare two animation which come from Japan and Hong Kong, and here is Dragon Delusion and JoJo Wawaza Adventure. There are many animation in Japan and Hong Kong. The reason I chose those two animation is because they have their own feature recognition in the anime industry, and they also have some similar praise. About JoJo Bizarre Adventure, all animation fans know that it is famous for their own art style, such as the character fashion, standing pose, and fighting style. And about the Dragon Delusion, this is a huge animation project recently in Hong Kong. They have their own art styling and meaningful theme, and also get the awards in 20 digital stakes Asians. I will compare those animations in content, animation production, and development of the animation industry. First, about the theme and content. In JoJo Bizarre Adventure, they have 5 animations that have different main characters having different story. Although they have different story, they also focus on one concept. It is a golden spirit. It means a belief that is never give up and fiction by their wisdom. Therefore, there are many unexpected fighting and character abilities setting in those animations, and those elements also make it famous. And action about the Dragon Delusion, they talk about a huge topic, dead or alive. It uses Chinese historical character. Emperor Cheng Shi Wen and Wat Yun became the main character, and combining ancient and modern at science fiction element to talk about the topic. There are 2 animations of this topic. One is the fantasy that Emperor Cheng Shi Wen unfed unified 6 countries and find out the secrets of longevity successful. He made a country that combines human being, robot, and cyborgs. This explores death or life. Also explores will we lose ourselves when we are not human anymore. In the ways of presenting the topic, I think Dragon Delusion has a big topic, but they cannot present it in detail, and JoJo Bizarre Adventure using different story and characters to present the same topic in different ways. First, about JoJo Bizarre Adventure has many episodes that are 24 episodes and around 24 minutes for each to talk about their topic. They use many story and characters to build up a new world in the animation. We can understand the feeling of character and their spirit in fighting again and again. Therefore, it makes a cycle that we can understand the spirit by the character, and also can understand the character by their spirit. And about the Dragon Delusion seems to have many things that it wants to talk about, so there are many elements. There are many Hong Kong style building and symbols, such as tea restaurant, Hong Kong bus, and Cantonese opera. This is very interesting that the creator combined Chinese and Western. For example, one plot is Pyramid playing rock music. The world is in this animation give a fantasy feeling that it cannot happen in the reality, whatever the character and the color. However, I think this animation cannot present their topic clearly. To be honest, I cannot understand their topic when I watched this animation until I watched the interview video on YouTube, since it references many kind of digital Chinese history and Hong Kong theme. Also, there are only 4 to 9 minutes in one animation and do not have many dialogue. Therefore, it makes people who lack the above knowledge unable to understand their topic. But it may also involve some production problem that the following will talking about. In 2 animation, there is a characteristic art style. In JoJo Bizarre Adventure, there is a unique fashion outfit, standing posture, and outlooking of character. Also, they have an interesting battle story and dialogue that become their unique style, and it attracts many fans. Also, there is a bright color matching in their fashion items. Since he studied fashion design, he always references a fashion legacy. In Dragon Delusion, there is more obvious conscious color in the animation. The creator described those color matchings that is the color of papering matching offering to build up a dead world. I think it is meaningful and also match their topic and increase visual aesthetic at the same time. They can do balance that the color has color stimulate but does not let you feel disturbed. Out of character, there is the uncommon art style of appearance, but it seems more acceptable than JoJo Bizarre Adventures. Also, we can see their background and shadow is attentive. They combine all elements successful so that you can feel the local Hong Kong city in this animation that portrays everything of Hong Kong attentively, such as the old buildings, train, and bus. Their shadow also increase movement with character in animation. However, there is some defects in the animation, that is the movementness of characters. In every shot of Dragon Delusion, there are beautiful illustrations, but it's become stiff when it's become animated. About the smoothness of the animation is much related to funding and human resources. There is a huge gap in animation production funding and human resources in Japan and Hong Kong. Jojo Basara, a franchise made by a Japanese animation company called David Production. They have more than 10 years experience in animation production, which is a full-scale Japanese animation studio. Adopting version animation style is their strength, which can produce high-quality animation without violence and gore, and it is suitable for the young audience. A season of one animation in standards has 20 to 13 or 24 to 26 episodes. Therefore, they need 156 million to 221 million in one scene of Japanese animation. Compared with Hong Kong animation, Dragon Delusion animation around 8 minutes, and there are around 10 workers and 8 months to produce this animation. Producer of Dragon Delusion also mentioned that it is hard to get funding when investors saw this uncommon art style animation. However, they also want to start this project that make an 18 minutes animation film. They want to collect 8 million funding to hire 50 workers for the animation team and produce animation in 2 years. However, it's just collected Hong Kong $600,000 until now, which is after around 2 years. So there is a huge difference in two production scale, so that Jojo Basara Avenger has more resources to express the spirit of the story with long episodes. Also, their people have huge related production experience and human resources, so the smoothness of the animation is better than Dragon Delusion. Because of the lack of funding and human resources, Delusion only can produce around 3 to 8 minutes animation. Also, they need to wait for crowdfunding so that they can continue to produce. However, their production funding is far less than Jojo Basara franchise. It affected the animation quality and the production time. That Dragon Delusion overall package is not as good as Jojo Basara franchise. So, what have I found after the research and analysis? Summarizing up the above literature review and methodology, it showed that what Hong Kong animation industry lacks. First, the support from investor. Second, the competitiveness compared to others area. And the first, external support. First, about the lack of support from the investor. According to the animation development or transformation direction of Japanese and Hong Kong, the development of Japanese manga and animation industry was much earlier than Hong Kong. Hong Kong was heavily influenced by them. However, the golden age of Hong Kong manga and Japan animation also began in 70s. After that, they developed differently, and Japanese animation was transformation direction success, which expand more film and target customer, also entered the international market. And those transformations also make Japanese animation success become a pop culture. On the other hand, Hong Kong mainly developed the live-action movie because they have high returns to investors. Therefore, most investors preferred movie investment, but not the animation industry, resulting in a lack of resources to expand the animation market, building up complete production and talent cultivation lines. Lack of the investment by the large investor. More and more Hong Kong animation production people have joined in the form of small or individual studios to produce animation and related works. In the analysis of Dragon Delusion, is showing Hong Kong animation status, which they need to wait for crowdfunding to start their production. However, crowdfunding funds and time costs are far different than the investment, so Hong Kong animation is difficult to produce long-term and excellent work. Lack of resources on the investor is makes Hong Kong animation outlook is not optimistic, and lack of talent is makes Hong Kong animation production time and cost increase also decrease competitive compared to Hong Kong. Because of natural development Japan's animation, they have a complete production and talent cultivation line in the animation industry. They have lower cost and high productive force. Also, their income is large under the correct marketing planning. Besides that, Japanese animation is an international pop culture, and it also has a huge market of otaku culture and a complete marketing plan. It has diversified return investment, also has a lot of successful animation to become a sample for the investors, so that fashion industry can cooperate with Japanese animation. Look back at the Hong Kong animation industry. Because the high cost and rich production, few companies have cooperated with the Hong Kong animation industry, making the animation work in Hong Kong that less work and production experience to attract investment. According to Hong Kong Digital Entertainment Industry Service Report, some company interviewed believed that the most lacking characteristic of employers was professional skill, responsibility, and experience. At the same time, 2% of companies believe that the industry has difficult hiring employees. The most important reasons for recruitment difficulty was that the companies interviewed believed that the applicant skills or experience did not meet the requirement, and there were not enough applicants. At the same time, as many as 70% of the industry respondents said that it is not easy to recruit suitable animator, mostly because the overall technology for graduates in recent years has not met the technology requirement of the industry, showing the Hong Kong animation industry less human resources and production experience. It is hard to attract investors to invest. It makes Hong Kong animation recover the cost difficulty and increasing environment risk. Hong Kong investors lack confidence in investing in the Hong Kong animation industry. Finally, it's become a vicious circle and make to Hong Kong animation industry gradually shrinking. Hong Kong government and different organizations have also launched related measures to promote the Hong Kong animation industry, but their policy is a short-term program that cannot build a long-term, complete and convenient animation production line to the market. Also, they cannot solve the problem facing in the industry. According to Hong Kong Digital Entertainment Industry Service Report, as for the problem facing by the industry, the problem has lack of government support, high rental costs, and small market. On the other hand, there are local college students who graduate from the Department of New Communication. They bring local animation producer and their animation work less exposure and promote. Hong Kong is actually no one to engage in animation, but small TV sessions only buy works from other countries. There is no chance for local creators to share their animation work on TV session. For example, Dragon Delusion is only uploaded to YouTube and Facebook page to promote their works to international audience. However, local media lacks the awareness to promote the local animation industry, so that it is hard to become a pop culture local culture and cannot expand the new market. And here are some suggestions for the Hong Kong animation industry to develop in the future to improve the above issue. Based on the above situation in the Hong Kong animation industry, there are 7 suggestions to improve this facing issue, which is subsidy system, rental concession, government lead investment or use, setting up a development fund, assistance in financing, protecting of intellectual property rights, and professional training and research. And that's all of my presentation. Bye bye. 如用這歌可以代表我，幫我為你加一點附和。假使可以全沒隔阻。